it going, Ozzy? You okay?
Good, bro. How's it going?
I'm very good. I'm very good. Just thought I'd represent the Aussie boys. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying? Yes,
no doubt.
that's awesome.
Appreciate that.
Just want to say thank you for doing this, Oz. Really do appreciate it, my friend. Couple of things. This is something new, so I'm trying it. It's an experimental thing, and I wanted to do it with yourself because there's a few people who've been asking me questions regarding OD. You know I love the OD
Yeah,
line, and you're the master, so I figured we'd do this together. So,
yeah, I appreciate it.
just very quickly, when did you start with ball pythons? Very quickly.
Um, so I had snakes when I was a kid, but never owned a ball python until 2000. So about 20 years ago is when I started.
Cool. You haven't aged a bit.
Bro, I just turned 50.
No, bro. I'm
I,
40. I'm 40 this year. Shh.
dude, I just turned I just turned 50, man, and I just, I feel blessed, man. I feel like I'm in my prime, you
Hell
know?
yeah. Hell yeah.
Like I'm in the best shape physically, mentally,
Yeah.
financially,
Good place.
spiritually, So I'm in a good place for sure. So just that was a milestone for me, bro.
Congratulations, my friend. Okay, so 20 years, basically, roughly. I remember you and Mark, I think, roughly getting into it about the same time. Possibly even Justin as well, maybe a bit later.
Yep, yep.
Um,
Me, Justin. Yep.
yeah, when we talk about the tiers, I think for me, you were like the second tier. I think Brian and Kevin were the first type people, and then there's obviously people, a bit before that,
Absolutely.
when we're talking ball pythons.
Oh yeah, yeah. Ralph Davis,
Yeah.
the Snake Keeper, Brian Barczyk, of course Kevin. Kevin is the godfather of ball pythons. For all you newbies who don't know that, um, those guys, they were the inspiration. Um, they started this, and we used to stand at their tables and drool at their animals, and just dream about maybe one day being able to produce some of that stuff. So
That's
yep,
inspirational for
definitely,
us, definitely.
yep, definitely, yeah,
Okay, and today we're going to talk about the high intensity line,
yeah,
Orange Dream. That's one thing that I get asked a lot about, and me and you've spoke about it before. For me, it's better if you explain to my
yeah,
viewers, and
yeah.
we'll put it out there. And I just think it'd be great that way. So, what year did you get the original OD female? I presume it was a female. It was a female, wasn't it?
The the original OD female was around, I want to say 2002. I think it was. I got her as a hatchling from Ian Nazdowski from Outback Reptiles. Ian, at that time, again, Ian was one of the pioneers in the industry too. He was more low key, and he brought in a lot of the original morphs that Tracy and some of those guys used to purchase. They used to get stuff from Ian. Ian actually went over to Africa and had some connections over there, and he used to get a lot of nice stuff. Um, I got the original from Ian. I bought a bunch of stuff from him, and he threw in a fancy um, female as a freebie from his fancy bin, and she was in shed. She had just hatched probably a week ago and was imported to the U.S. From a farm in Africa. So that's where I got the original from.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to fast forward to the high intensity OD line. Okay.
Yep.
So roughly, when did you realise, or how? Tell us the story. How did you find out that, or realise there was something maybe going on with a higher intensity line, or?
Yeah. So I had the high intensity when I started. I produced the first Orange Dreams from that original female in 2004. Um, and she gave me two Orange Dreams. And of course, I started to, raise them up and breed them back. And I started to do combos. And I had produced several yellow belly dream bees, which is orange dream spider. And one year I produced this really, really nice orange dream yellow belly spider female. And she was extraordinary. I mean, she was brighter and cleaner than any of the other animals. And I raised her up. And she's actually the female that gave me the first super orange dream. And I think that was 2011, if my memory serves me correct. So the first clutch of super orange dreams actually came from her. So all of those supers were 50% high intensity and 50% orange dream. At the time, I had no clue. I just thought she was really, really nice. So I started to, continue to breed and produce stuff from her, but also from my super males. And one of my super males went to Brian Sharp. And of course, the first one went to Mark Mandic, Super Orange Dream Fire. Mark was always a supporter and a fan of the project from day one. He was the only big breeder that actually believed in the project.
Yep.
Before people, I couldn't give them away. People didn't want to buy them for years. But Mark, he took one look at an orange dream at my table at Tinley, and he was like, "What the hell is that?" And it was just straight up orange dream male. And he ended up picking up that male at that show. But so I just me and Mark are friends.
Yeah.
Mark. Mark's a great guy.
Awesome.
So I felt he should get. I didn't even want to sell any of them, but I felt like it was the right thing to do. So I definitely, when he asked, I said absolutely, man, and I hooked him up.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, at the time, Mark Mandic, Brian Sharp, and myself, from that point on, really started to produce high intensities in pretty consistently with those super males. I had held back 2 for myself.
Yeah.
And a super female. So I was producing those animals for years, and guys used to come to me all the time. A lot of my customers, would text me and say, "Man, your orange dreams are so much better than everybody else's." And, and I used to hatch out stuff, and some would be extraordinary. And then some would be okay, in the same clutch from the same pairing. And I never put 2 and 2 together. Then I produced some animals that I sold as super orange dream. I sold two high intensity orange dream yellow belly spiders, so 2 yellow belly dream bees, and I sold an orange dream yellow belly high intensity as supers. Of course, they went to the breeders bred them and came back to me and said, "Hey, these are not super." So that's when I started to really scratch my head, and take a step back. And I started to pay closer attention, because I'm not that guy who sits around and just stares at the animals and studies them, especially for the first 17 years of my career. Yeah. I was working full time, had a family, so it wasn't, it was a hobby for me, and I didn't spend a whole lot of time, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
So then I started to really take a step back and take a look at the animals. I got one of the animals back from one of the breeders and bred it myself, and was just trying to figure things out. And I started to notice from my, I had a super dream bee fire male, and I would notice that I would produce orange dream fires from him, and they would look completely different. I mean, and some would look like super if I would breed them to a non-orange dream, and I would produce animals that looked like they were super. So that's when it started to click. And I think that was, I don't know, that may have been around 2015, 2016. Mm-hmm. So that's when I started to see it, and I started to pay attention, and I started to see it consistently. Now, by then, I had been producing and selling high-intensity orange dreams for years. Yep. And so was Mark Mandic, and so was Brian Sharp. So a lot of people have high intensity. It's out there. It's in their collection. But it wasn't until then that I, came up with the theory. I was doing some testing. Initially, I thought maybe there was another gene floating around in
Yeah.
there. I was thinking maybe it was just line breeding or whatever. But my theory now is that the orange dream in that original yellow belly dream bee somehow got tweaked because she
Yeah.
was drastically different.
Yeah.
Like I used to take her to shows as a showcase to promote the gene, and several breeders walked by my table, saw that snake, and stopped. And I even remember Mike Wilbanks. I think it was like a March show in Tinley. Set up with my little one table. I was small back then.
Yeah.
And Mike Wilbanks and Bob Clark were walking around the show. And I remember them specifically stopping and looking at that snake, and they were trying to get me to sell it. And then Mike Wilbanks was like, "That's just orange dream, yellow belly, and spider." And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "No pastel, no." I'm like, "No, that's it." Like, So several guys tried to buy that snake for me. Remember my buddy Frank Martin was trying to buy it. A lot of people would just see that snake and just, So my theory is that it originated with her, and I just think the gene somehow got tweaked.
Yeah.
I think the ball python genome. This is my theory.
Yeah.
I think the ball python genome is prone to genetic mutations.
Yeah.
I just think they randomly mutate, during mitosis
Yeah.
or whatever. So, again, like some of the phenomena that we see with ball pythons, you don't see that anywhere else.
Yeah.
In the animal world. And I mean, granted, we breed them. We have more breeding trials going on, compared to other animals. But I think the genome is pretty amazing, and I just think it's prone to mutation, and I just think it got tweaked.
Yeah, I think you're right. So
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think the orange dream, that high intensity line, is some sort of mutated OD.
Yeah.
And there's Dax.
Yeah, Jax is he's running for attention.
Bless him. It's good as gold, man.
Boy, say hi, man.
Hey,
Say
dude.
hi.
Jax.
Say hi.
He's awesome, man. So, for you with the high intensity line, so we've established that it was almost looking like a super. Just a single high intensity.
Dude, they look like supers. That snake that you bought for me, I labeled that a super. I mean, it's a good thing I held it back for myself. And then I bred it. I had no clue that snake had pastel in it.
No,
I mean, that snake just, you look at that snake, and if you tell somebody it has pastel in it, they'll be like, "Nah, that doesn't have pastel." But I got a lot of curveballs like that, and that animal is extraordinary. I mean, that animal would have sold as a super orange dream, super enchi combo.
for sure.
Super orange dream. I think I had it labeled as super orange dream, super enchi, yellow belly, and then it turned out to be orange dream, yellow belly, pastel, super enchi.
Yeah.
So.
And he's what I
Proof is
labeled
in the
as.
pudding, man.
Oh yeah, man. He's what I labeled as Hellboy, because he was just on fire. He just turned up. I was like, no way. Ozzy has sold me this snake. This is incredible, man. And for me, he's kind of like the highlight of my collection. I've got a lot of.
Yeah.
He's breeding for me. And even if he wasn't breeding for me, I'd still open the tub and just look at him and just think, wow, So for me, I'm really pleased that you decided to sell him to your best friend in the UK. That's awesome.
Pleasure, man.
Okay, so that's really interesting to hear you talk about the mutation side of the orange dream, because I must admit, Ozzy, I have seen other people's orange dream and they're never as banded as yours. Mark's are very banded, the same as yours. Now, I put that down to him having one of the original bloodlines, maybe. Is that what you think, or do you think that as it gets bred into other mutations, it kind of changes from a banded animal to being a very animal with... No.
I think what happened was, again, Mark got that super, and that super had an orange dream gene and a high intensity gene. So it was a single dose high intensity super. Single dose meaning a single dose of the high intensity gene.
Yeah.
So I think as Mark bred that and got the first babies from that, of course he's going to keep the prettiest ones for himself. So I think a lot of what you're seeing, because the orange dream, the high intensity is usually more banded. It's cleaner. It's brighter. Again, it just looks like the super form.
Yeah.
So I think that's what you're seeing, and I see it in other people's collections. I mean, I see a lot of guys producing them, and I look at some of those single gene snakes, and I see some of them labeled as super, and I'm like, that's the single gene high intensity.
Yeah.
I mean, but it is what it is. I mean, this entire hobby is it's a game of trial and error.
Yeah.
And I know some people get frustrated, but you got to understand that a lot of times when you identify these animals and you label and you sell these animals, a lot of times it's a theoretical ID.
Yeah.
Right? Think about it. The first super orange dream clutch, I labeled those as supers. That was an educated guess. That was a theoretical ID until you bred that snake and produced all orange dreams consistently. It was a theoretical until you proved it out.
Yeah.
So people have to understand that. And, I sold some supers. They turned out to be high intensity, single gene, which, I don't necessarily think, like, I even sold one to Justin Kobilka.
Yeah.
I think it was like a super orange dream, yellow belly female or something. And then he hit me up and he said, man, this is not a super. And I said, really? So I knew right away. I'm like, it must be high intensity. And I'm like, hey, you want to send it back and I'll send you a super? And Justin was like, no, thanks. I was like, you sure? Because I have, but Justin understands that, the fact that it's not a super is not necessarily a bad thing. Because if you have a single gene animal that looks as good as the super form, what is the double dose high intensity super going to look like?
Yeah.
So it's a matter of quality and genetics,
Sure. And that will lead me to another question. Have you done high intensity and produced a high intensity super yet?
I've done high intensity to high intensity, and I think I have a double dose.
Okay.
High intensity Firefly Clown.
Wow.
So I need to get him up to size and test out that theory. And I think I may have produced and sold them off in the past too, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like I sold some to Teron Moore. Teron Moore. Moore Pythons.
Yep.
He's on Facebook. Good guy. He lives nearby. Me and him have been friends for years. I think I sold him, and I sold him. I've been selling him snakes for years. I sold him one of his first clown ball pythons years ago.
Wow.
But he picked up some really, really nice stuff. And I think he may have picked up a double dose high intensity from me, super. I think it was like a super yellow belly fire. I think that one may have been a double dose. So, they're out there, and I'm experimenting around. I'm putting it into pied. I'm putting it into clown. This year, I'm putting it into some of my Desert Ghost projects.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to, again, the reason why I sold you that mail is I'm always my you can listen to some older podcasts from years ago. My approach to this game has always been to upgrade my genetics.
Yeah.
I'm a breeder. I'm not a collector. I rarely keep an animal for more than 6 years, 7 years. Very rarely. I have my original normal downstairs. That's it.
Yep. Me too.
But otherwise, yeah, I always try to upgrade my genetics. So I'm trying to get my Orange Dream into recessive projects, Ultramel, Desert Ghost, Puzzle. So, that's the game plan.
Okay. So for you, and you say you sort of upgrade and you release things. Going back, you've gone. I feel you've gone a real different direction with your combos, because everything I see you produce is really off the chain. It's real different. It's, you know, you think that I wouldn't think to pair what you would pair, but somehow you always seem to hit stuff which looks absolutely draw dropping. Why have you, or why did you, or why do you go down a certain avenue instead of most people going like clown and pied? You've always done like the incomplete dominance or the dominant combos, if you like. What
Yeah.
makes you different, do you think? Why that way?
So, I think one thing that distinguishes me from the crowd is back during the last big crash that we had. You know, when the market went to hell and prices were crashing, sales stalled, etc. That was pretty hard. And whenever we go through those crashes, one of the things that you would always hear people say is, "Oh, don't buy codoms, buy recessives because they hold their value longer."
Yeah.
So first of all, I'm really not motivated. I'm not money motivated. Like, don't get me wrong. I like to make money. I like business. I like investing. You know, I'll talk about that for hours. I'll
Yeah.
talk you know, but I'm not money motivated, you know. So my projects are motivated by me wanting to produce a specific combo, you know, and I never shied away from codoms. And I mean, the Orange Dream is an incomplete dominant. So, you know, I think a lot of people made a mistake when they were just trying to do all double recessives and recessives, etc. You know, it really, you have to use codoms and recessives and all of that stuff. I mean, you know, and the other thing is I don't mass produce stuff, you know. Again, it's not like, if you look at my projects and you look at my production is not money motivated, because if it was, I would have just cranked out, you know, thousands of Super Orange Dream combos and made a shitload of money. But, you know, you'll never see me hatch out more than, you know, 2 or 3 clutches of a specific project, if that. Sometimes it's just one clutch,
Yeah.
you know, and it's because I'm trying to stay small, keep my collection small, because I put a lot of thought into each and every pairing. Each and every pairing I do, I put a lot of thought and energy into it. You know, I
Yes.
don't just randomly put animals together. I spend a lot of time looking at my projects, mapping out my projects, and I spend a lot of time trying to eliminate redundancy. You know, you mentioned I was selling, you know, I'm selling breeder females. I'm selling breeder males too. The reason why I do that every year is because I'm trying to eliminate redundancy in my collection. I'm trying to keep it small and tight. You know, I want to have a small collection. I want to be able to manage my output, but I want my output to really pack a punch.
Yeah.
You know, so again, you know, sky's the limit with ball pythons. There's so many different combos. So, you know, watch my production and you'll see.
Yeah.
You know, again, I'm going after specific combos, and I wish more breeders would do that.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of breeders who have these big, huge operations and want to do 1,500, 2,000, 2,500, you know, clutches a year. I don't think that's a sustainable practice, you know, for the hobby. And I don't think that it's, from a business standpoint, I don't think it's really profitable,
Yeah.
you know. I'm always profitable. I've been profitable so in 2003, I've been doing this since 2000. I started collecting.
Yeah.
I think it was 2002. I produced my first clutch, but it was in 2003 that I converted my hobby into a business. Just because that year I think I made like 45,000 in profit, and my CPA, you know, said, "Hey, we need to turn this into a sole proprietor business, because you're going to pay taxes and you're not going to have any write-offs unless you turn it into a business. And that's how Ozzy Boyd's was born. It was a screen name I had. He was like, "What do you want to call it?" I'm sitting here in his office. I'm like, "Ozzy Boyd's," and
Yeah.
that's how Ozzy Boyd's was born. You know,
Wow.
so from that day, from 2003 on, I've always been profitable. My business has always turned a profit, and the profit always increases every year, right? Number of sales always increase every year, so it's been growing pretty steady. So again, you don't have to be huge
Yep.
to have good profit, make good money. But I think it's better to stay small and operate as a boutique breeder, producing very unique, high-end animals.
Yep.
Because I just don't think the large operations, I don't think they're sustainable.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to withstand a crash. I could withstand a crash.
Yeah.
I've, I've withstood several crashes. So has Justin. Mark Mandic. Those guys are about producing quality, unique animals. Some people say Justin is, a big, operation, but I think Justin is bigger than most, but he's not the size of some of these other breeders that were doing, 2,000, 2,500 clutches a year.
Yeah.
I would not enjoy that at all.
Yeah. So tell us then, on average, your breeder females and breeder males. Give us some sort of numbers. They haven't got to be specific. Just tell us roughly, in what.
Oh, I don't have any secrets. But when I was working full time, so for the first 17 years, I never did really more than I think 50 clutches.
Yeah.
I would do anywhere from 25 to 50 clutches.
Yeah.
And I would produce everything. Though was very unique. It was very, very cool, and the pairing was well thought out.
Yeah.
When I retired in 2017 from my 9 to 5, that following year I did 90 clutches. I was shooting for like 75, and I did 90 clutches. Wow. This year I'm shooting for around 90 clutches again. Wow. I have one full-time employee working with me now, my nephew. And again, I have a lot more free time. Yep. So I'm not working 9 to 5. I do some consultant work, but it's not full-time. So probably I'm going to be shooting for around 90 clutches a year.
Okay. Yeah. That for me is, I think as a single person, I've probably got about 56, 57 breeding females. Now, I always try and aim for 90% of my females to go. Last year, I think everyone struggled last year, last season. Even yourself, we talked about it quite in depth.
Last year, I only did 45 clutches.
Only, yeah.
45 clutches.
It's crazy, yeah. I was down to 11 over. Normally, I was raising every year, just as Mark says, you grow into business or you grow into the hobby, let's say. I was steady. I think the year before that I did 35, 36 clutches. Last year just completely just killed me. It was 11 clutches. Yep. But, everything happens for a reason. And this season...
Yeah, but when you're small, you can withstand that. Like last year's production really didn't hurt me. I breed a few boas too, but I have other things going on. I have other income streams. So when you're small, you could withstand it. But if you're a big operation and you have, 6 or 7 employees and a big facility, and and you do something like 40% production, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Or 30%.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll kill you. That'll kill you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's something that I've always spoke about with people when people talk to me about numbers, and it's not about how much you do, it's how you do it. It's all about the quality, like we said before. We buy with our eyes. Everyone loves a bargain, but you've got to really invest time and money into your collection to produce the quality animals, which will keep, as we said before, seeing you through those little dips, crashes in the marketplace, and just push forward, basically.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. And I think it also keeps your passion strong, because You're less likely to get burned out. You'll be excited by your animals again. Like when you pop open that tub, you know, and you see that amazing, animal and you watch it develop over time. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I enjoy going down to my snake room. When I wake up in the morning, I'm pumped. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I get some coffee and then the next stop is down to the snake room because I want to see who's breeding. I want to see who may have laid eggs.
Yeah.
I want to see, which snake may have shed, etc. So I'm always excited. And again, if you could maintain that excitement, that's what's going to carry you through the tough times. Because you know how life is, man. You're going to hit those tough times,
Oh yeah.
whether it's personal, whether it's the market, whatever.
Yeah.
Life always throws curveballs. So if your passion is strong and that excitement is there, you'll have the wherewithal to, plow through it.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm not gonna keep too much of your time. I was just gonna go back to the high intensity line. So with the high intensity line, you said obviously you was putting into your ultramale stuff, your desert ghost stuff. So this coming season, give me one pairing that two if you want that you're really anticipating for. That's the clutch that everything you're excited about we know, but what's the one thing that you want to you know
So I'm going to hit you with a little curveball here.
oh,
So one of the things, one of the problems that I struggled with in the past was whenever I did high intensity pairings, there was always normal, like a normal orange dream in the mix, or a super or whatever. So it kind of muddied the waters, so to speak. Just made it a little tougher for me to figure out what's what. So I do have some high intensity, single gene, high intensity animals. And I think the single gene high intensity animals are very valuable because if you do single gene high intensity to single gene high intensity, when you get supers, you'll know without a doubt that those supers are double dose high intensity.
yeah.
And they should, in theory, produce all high intensity orange dreams when you breed that out. So I do have some high intensity clown stuff, but like I'm trying to make a high intensity Orange Dream Fire Batman.
Wow.
I'm trying to do some high intensity Hidden Gene Woma Mahogany Clown stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of like really weird, crazy stuff. I have I'm trying to do high intensity pastel Enchi Blaze Hurricane Clown. Like those are some of the projects that I'm working on. So hopefully some of that stuff hits.
Oh yeah.
Because yeah, I think it's going to be pretty intense.
Okay. So just touching on that high intensity again. So a single dose high intensity, can that throw normal orange dreams, or is it just straight orange high intensity?
So like your male, for instance,
Yeah.
your male, all of the orange dreams from your male should be high intensity.
Okay.
So if you bring it to a normal, any orange dream in that clutch should be high intensity.
Okay.
And yours is Enchi too, so it should be high intensity orange dream Enchi, and then whatever else you have going on in the mix.
Oh
So
yeah.
there's a lot of stuff you can do with that, guy.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah. Oh, he's yeah. So one of the females I've put him to is a pastel Enchi special. I really like the special gene. You don't see much with the orange dream and special.
yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
I've got a breeder male special Enchi, and he's absolutely stunning. So with your male, which was super Enchi, obviously I'm hoping to hit some special Enchis along with the
Nice.
along with the high intensity stuff. So yeah, he's also breeding a few other girls, but fingers crossed, he's on it. He's on it this season. And the leopard clown I had from you as well, the male. He's feeding and breeding. He's crazy.
Yeah,
And
yeah. He was.
I swear there's something else going on with him. I swear. Like I don't know.
He might be. I think he's head pied or pos head pied, right?
Yeah, I think he is because he's thrown some real
His
Strange,
brother, his brother
strange
proved
combo.
out to be het pied.
He's thrown some.
Remember?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Remember,
yeah,
I had two. I
yeah,
kept one back. That one turned out to be het pied. So he's definitely past het pied. And he came from Paul Miles at the Boa Barn. So Paul Miles produced him, and he always had some weird
yeah.
stuff going on with his clown pie project.
Well,
So
hopefully he does prove out, but he definitely throws some weird looking babies. It's
nice.
I hit four leopard lessers. I just kept it simple. Obviously,
Yeah,
het clown,
yeah. Those are nice.
and one of them was just completely different to the other three. You know,
Must be het pied. Yeah,
so it's got to be something that way. But we shall see. And also one of my other breeder males, which has always um, he never fails. He's one of your original ones again, which is an OD Vanilla. I believe one of your
yeah,
first
yeah,
OD Vanilla. Yeah, he's absolutely awesome. You know, so they're all doing a good job. The lesser blade clown as well. I got from you male, smashing everything as well. So those are my go-to males. You know, but for me, like you said, going back to the original high intensity spider yellow belly female that produced the first super clutch. Everyone walking past that snake stopped and was like, "What's in that snake?"
yeah,
And
yeah,
you
yeah,
just went,
yeah.
"Spider, yellow belly, orange dream," and everyone. And that's for me is when I open up a drawer or when I show people a snake. It's those simple 2-3 gene combos which I want people to stop and go, "What the hell is in that?" You know?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what it's all about, man. And I really think the future is bright. There's a lot of crazy combos that are going to be coming.
Yeah.
So you know, here's
Okay.
Jack.
Jax is back. Okay, I'm going to give you one last question, one more. Um, what what new gene or what gene haven't you got that you would like to get, or you're thinking about getting, or maybe you're interested in seeing how it progresses? Tell me, what else have you got, or what are you looking for, should I say?
Some of the genes, like a lot of the, I have mostly everything that I want. I mean, usually if there's something out there and I want it, I just go out and get it.
Yep.
But there are some genes that I really really like that spark my imagination. Definitely monsoon is one of those genes. I think that one is pretty interesting. What else have I been watching? I've been watching that Zuwadi gene.
Yep. Yep.
You
Yep.
know,
I know.
like yeah, that one's pretty interesting. It's kind of inconsistent with what it does, which I like that.
Yeah.
I love the inconsistency in leopard. You
Yeah.
know, like when you do some leopard combos, man, you don't know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
And no two. Like my orange dream leopard combos, when I start stacking genes on them, no two look alike.
Yeah.
So so those are the two genes that come to mind. I'm sure there's other stuff. There's so many genes out
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
that are popping up. But yeah,
Okay. Well, we'll leave it at that, Oz. I've racked you enough. I think Jax wants to go out for a little walk. Go and play with their deers in the back garden.
he probably sees the deer or
Yeah.
a squirrel or something in the backyard. So
Yeah, bro. Well, I'm just going to wrap this up, my friend. I really do appreciate you
all
taking
right, bro.
time out of your
Yep.
day.
Yep. And let me know about the show schedule in the UK. So I got to get down there and visit.
Yeah. Well, we spoke
Yeah.
about that, so we'll talk a bit
Yep.
more over the phone. But yeah, that's definitely happening.
All right, brother.
Awesome, bro. Thank you.